Hey, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Millennial Management Podcast. I am your host, Brandy, the Millennial Manager, and today is Monday. If you are inside of Patreon, thank you. I want to say a huge thank you for your continued support of the podcast and also your continued support of me. Y'all ride or die, okay? Patreon be in them comments. I see y'all. I know wherever y'all are. So I just want to say thank you so much for the engagement and the love that y'all show me. And today I have a really hot topic. This is something that has been requested so many times, and it's a heavy topic. So I have to kind of prepare myself for it, right? The topic is about microaggressions in the workplace and how to navigate them. And I have dealt with them myself as a Black woman in corporate America. I know many of you have, whether, you are a Black woman working at McDonald's or a Black woman working in corporate America, a doctor, a lawyer. It doesn't matter, unfortunately, your position, okay? That does not matter. You are going to experience this whether you want to or not. And it's time that we have a real conversation and talk about ways to navigate in those spaces. So number one, what does microaggression look like? It is very passive aggressive, very indirect, very racial. Whatever they're saying is very racially specific, and they are doing it in front of you without really saying the N-word. That's how I feel. It's it's something that is so directly racially connected to me that there's no way it could be mistaken for any other race. And it is very specific to us. Okay, it's very specific to Blackness. And it is masked as a joke. It's just a thought or something like that. And it can come from a variety of people, right? It can come from white people. It can come from other minorities who are outside of our race, and they just are ignorant. That's where it comes from. It comes from ignorance, because there is no way anyone in their sane mind would even think some of these things are, tactful or appropriate conversations to have in the workplace. And it spans across a lot of different conversations. Number one is hair. I feel like that's the number one thing that Black women or Black people specifically receive microaggressions about is our hair. Black women specifically, I felt like you come to work with a new hairstyle. Oh, you grew that overnight? Any little stuff like that. Why would you say that, dumbass? This hair did not fucking grow out of my head, okay? You know that these are braids. You know this is a wig. You are just choosing to be ignorant in this moment, and it's a choice. It's a conscious decision to be ignorant, okay? They are willfully ignorant, and they love it there. Now, you may be saying, well, how do I combat that? What do I say? Number one, when they say things like that, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? Having people further explain their ignorance is one of the best tools that I have picked up in life. I promise you. Because if you say something really stupid to me and I ask you, what do you mean by that? You now have to explain what the fuck you are saying. You have to explain what you mean by that. You have to explain what type of question you are asking or what type of statement you are making. And it is very hard to explain stupid. It's very hard to explain ignorance. Very, very difficult. So when you're faced with moments like that, you always need to start with that question. What do you mean by that? Let's break that down a little bit more, because I'm not understanding. Okay. One other thing is directness. Once you get through the conversation where they're trying to explain, I don't like that. That's your next thing. Go ahead and tell them, I don't like when you do that. Do not do that. Do not call me that. Sister girl, do not call me that. Okay? Girl, like with talking to you in a way that you know is what they conceive to be blackness. And so they mimic that. Don't talk to me like that. I don't understand. I had somebody ask me, yeah, my daughter, she really wants to dye her hair. And, I don't wear weaves. And I was like, I don't know anything about that. I'm not your source for weave content. You go find somebody else. You find somebody else. You just coming over here to talk to me because you see somebody black and you feel like I know that. No, I don't. And you need to act aloof. I have no idea of what you're talking about. I don't care if I wear weaves or whatever. I'm not your resident weave person. Like, you go talk to somebody else. If your daughter wanted to dye her hair, she need to get online like everybody else, or she need to go talk to a stylist. I'm not that person. You just see two black people sitting up here and now you want to come and talk to me about weave? You see what I'm saying? It be stuff like that. And so when you deal with it, you can either ask that question like, what do you mean? But there was no need for me to ask that because I already knew what the fuck the angle was. But I just immediately shut her down. I don't understand what you mean by that. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about coloring. I don't know anything about that. No, find somebody else. Oh, that person may be helpful. And I direct them to another white person or to somebody else. Like, I am not your resident person to be asking weave questions to. That's the type of shit that I'm talking about. And it's so like, it is so disrespectful because that's how they let you know like what they really see you as. And sometimes you really don't know until that moment happens. And then you're like, I thought you were, I thought you were nice. I thought you were smart. I thought you were educated. But it turns out that a lot of them are so ignorant and so stupid in the workplace and outside of the workplace that they say things like that. Or they're being very disrespectful or just overall, rude. And then they sometimes go through this passive aggressive route. Now, my experiences are solely coming from my experiences with white women because I have worked with white men and they have never done that to me. I'm just saying, okay? I know that there are some white men who participate, but my experience is coming from white women and women of color, okay? Because they're just as much of a problem, especially if they have a very large proximity to whiteness, like they are surrounded by it all the time, and it has taken over their lives, and they have started to adopt some of the same things that white people say, white people do. They become even more of a threat inside of the workplace when it comes to things like this. Like, you're from Detroit. No. I don't know what you mean by that. My third way of dealing with situations like this is to document the hell out of it. Document the conversation, document what was said, who said what, like the entire environment, who was around, right? Who was in the space. You need to document that because if you ever have to use it for some reason, y'all know I talk about work receipts, okay? You need to make sure you have that conversation documented and annotated for you to go back and review or take it to an attorney if things escalate even further inside of this corporation for, having a hostile work environment or a work environment that has a lot of racial disparities. Like, you need to document, okay? Because it all comes from somewhere, okay? People don't just get hired in these spaces and do these things just because they want to. They do it because they feel comfortable. And if you're working in an environment where this type of behavior is welcomed, you are going to see it a lot. And you need to know how to interact with it. And you need to know what to say and what to do. You need to document. Okay? Document your conversations, especially if it is your boss. If it is your boss who is saying things like this, if it is your boss who is communicating these, microaggressions, whether it's, about your hair or about your skin, because that's another thing. I'm almost as dark as you. Oh my God. If I can count on my hands and feet, how many times I've heard that fucking saying, I would be out of hands and feet. There are no more or fingers and toes. There are no more fingers and toes for that, because that is probably a white woman's favorite thing. I'm almost as dark as you. What? What are you even saying? Like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? I just mean, like, why would you even say that? That's not something that you should say. Okay, guys? And white women, if you are saying this, stop getting offended by this recording. Do better. Okay? Stop getting offended. Stop getting mad. Just don't say that, because it's stupid. Okay, guys? Okay. I also recommend that you do not have conversations where you have to confront this person alone. Okay? I'm telling you right now, for your sanity and for your peace, you need to have a witness. Any conversations that you have with somebody that is passive aggressive, period, or aggressive in any manner, I just believe that conversations like that, of that magnitude, should be witnessed, so that there is more than one person that can hear what is being said, hear what's being communicated, watch body language. Also, that person may be in their feelings because they are being confronted, and having someone who is of a level mind is very important. You need to have that. You need to have it present. You need to make sure that that is there for you. Okay? And it's really for your protection, because when things get communicated, it's like, well, I didn't say that. Yes, you did. This person heard you say it. This person heard you communicate that. This person heard you say, yes, I did communicate or talk about her hair, or whatever this topic of conversation is. You need to have a witness when you are confronting this type of behavior. But my go-to is, what do you mean by that? Because I want you to explain. And people have a really hard time explaining bigotry, racism. They have a really hard time explaining that. Most people. Now, some people who are a little more calculated, narcissists, they can explain it. But to the regular person inside of corporate America who is saying things and don't really have the knowledge or capacity to really understand the gravity of what they're saying, they have no way to really communicate why it's appropriate for them to say those type of things. So you always need to, number one, question them, be direct, document, and when you report their ass, make sure you have a witness. You understand me? Say yes. Never, ever go into a space where you do not have a witness present when there is a very serious topic at hand. This goes outside of microaggressions in the workplace. This goes outside of that. Sexual assault, physical assault, even communicating where people make you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, a hostile work environment, especially if it is one where your manager is participating, because these are people. And people carry on with the same foolishness that they do outside of the workplace. They bring it into work because they feel comfortable. But we have to make that type of behavior uncomfortable, not normal, because it's not. It's not normal for you to talk about people's hair or, have, comments on people's skin tone and stuff like that. Is not normal. That's not normal areas of conversation. And God bless those of you Black women who live in predominantly white areas and have to work in predominantly white spaces. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It could just overtake you. And so having a therapist is my last tidbit on this. Make sure you have a therapist, someone that you can talk to, someone that you can confide in that is outside of the workspace, that also can relate to this situation. It is very hard for someone to relate to this situation if they have never lived it, if they have never seen it happen. And that's why Black therapists are so important, because there's just a unique experience that comes along with being a Black woman, a Black person, even, Latinos, Asians. Like, I feel like every race has a unique experience. And I think we have to be very careful with selecting our therapists, because we can kind of put ourselves in a position where we are being even further gaslit. Like we're being gaslit inside of the workplace, and then you go to a therapist that downplays the scenarios or downplays the situation, and then you're stuck feeling like you're crazy, and you're actually not. You're not crazy. You're dealing with microaggressions in the workplace, and it could be so simple. It could be the smallest thing, but it is so... It's very hard to pinpoint it as direct racism. That's why it's a microaggression, because it's small. It's small little things that people do to indicate to you what time they really on. Small things, and you just need to clock it. Comments about your body, comments about your hair, comments about your skin tone, all are consistent of microaggressions. You understand? Even so far as the city that you live in. If you live in a predominantly black city, like Detroit is a very, very black city, and there are areas that they refer to as the hood or whatever, right? They think because you're black, it's automatically associated with you. Yeah. And that's the type of environments that you work in. It's like they just automatically assume you're this person, you're black, you live in Detroit, surely. Like I had a black woman say, well, you're just a Detroit bitch. I said, girl, what does that even mean? And why do you think that's an insult? That's not an insult. It wasn't an employee or, somebody I worked with. It was somebody that was mad that we dismissed their ass. And because she was being disrespectful to my team. And when I walked up in there to go and talk to her, just so happened I was in that office that day. And she got mad and started calling names and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you act like that's what is that? That's not a negative thing towards me. Detroit is beautiful. I love Detroit. I feel like it's one of the most up-and-coming cities in this country. And I just feel like people try to use that as an insult. Like, oh, you from Detroit? But like, girl, okay. So, like, what does that mean? Well, I know what she was trying to do, but it's just like, it doesn't mean anything to me. People do things like that. And this also was a Latina who said it. And it was just very interesting to experience that. But I definitely think that, going back to my original point, is that therapy is necessary. And you also need to see a therapist that can understand. So all in all, this is what I feel like you should do. Make sure that you are documenting your situations. Make sure you are documenting your circumstances, because it's real. It is not an imagination. You are not imagining these small things that are happening inside of the workplace. When you start writing them down and start adding up those things, you know exactly what fucking person you're dealing with and how you need to deal with them now. So I hope this is very helpful to you. Y'all have a wonderful day. And I will see y'all on Wednesday. Remember, Patreon, we have a live this Saturday at 8:30. We're going to be going live. We're going to be talking about what you want to talk about. So if you have a specific topic that you want for this live on Friday, send it to me in the DM on Patreon, and we will break that shit down, okay? All right. For those of you who are outside of Patreon, I hope y'all have a wonderful day. And y'all are listening to this on Wednesday. I didn't put it in my opening because I was so excited to get this out. But y'all have a good one. Make sure y'all join Patreon, and thank you for listening. Y'all have a good ass day. Bye.